It's Monday, August 7th. It's a new week 5 specifically of the Sleepers podcast. Every Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, 5 episodes a week. We still haven't missed a day, Carter. Pat ourselves on the back.
Hey, and honestly, not even breaking a sweat. Trying to do this is what we do. This is what they call hitting a stride, and we've done that.
Did you have a good weekend, my friend?
Yeah, pretty solid weekend. Finally made the last proposal or pitch to secure new clubs. Still waiting for the decision on that, whether it be denied and or granted. But new clubs might be coming in 7 to 14 days.
Are you in like a bidding war? How does this work? So you have to like say what you're willing to pay, and then the shop is like, we might take that, we might not?
No, see, so when you, obviously, Gregory, you understand this because you're in a fruitful, loving relationship with your beautiful wife, Mallory. Financial decisions aren't always yours. Okay, so you got to make pitches sometimes.
Understood.
So you don't just, say I'm doing this. You go make a slide deck on what, the improvements, the pros and cons of me getting these.
Understood. I would love to see the slide deck if you're willing to share that for the record. And if I can help in any way, let me know.
Thanks on that slide deck. You can't see, my boy.
Oh boy. You and you and your wife share a surprising level of influence on my wife's decision-making process. So if there's anything me and my wife can do to help you with your wife's decision-making process, I would love to.
Do we actually?
Yeah. She just values you guys a lot. Like if you were to tell her something's like important, or if you told Mal she should do something, she would probably do it. She loves you guys and values your opinion.
Text Mal like, hey, good morning, Mal. You know, it'd be great. Like if Greg just had like an extra 500 every week just for him.
No comment. So this is a fun, unique episode. It's a long episode, but the content's great in my opinion. We brought a guest on. We already recorded that this morning, so that's going to be the meat of this episode. The main 2 segments will include an interview with TikTok superstar GFed. GFed is a Lansing alum. He lives in Chicago, and he has just gone super viral on TikTok, creating awesome college sports related content. He's like driving his ass across the country, showing up on campuses, trying to sneak into facilities, football, basketball, and documenting all of it. He worked his way up to Big Ten Media Day, shaking hands, dapping up every football coach that was at that event. He's only been doing this, or he's only been viral for like a month. He's been doing this longer, but it's great to see things start to take off for him. And I believe we got the first kind of sit down interview to like learn who he is. More importantly, from our perspective, Cart, we are actively recruiting GFed to become special Sleepers Correspondent GFed. Your thoughts on that? We talked about a little in the interview and kind of made like the live pitch that I think made him a little uncomfortable, but let's just go all in. Like, what are your thoughts on GFed and our recruiting pitch of him?
Oh, he's gonna be ours. I ain't gonna lie. we're gonna find a way, because I see the vision, and it's not gonna be like an NIL thing. Like I'm gonna get my 2017 Nick Saban bag. Okay, there's gonna be Hellcats and McDonald's bags at GFed's doorstep with the Sleepers logo on it.
Yeah, we love GFed. He fits well with our values, as stupid as that is to say out loud. Like we are technically a business. Sleepers Media is the way we're growing and what we're trying to do.
We're not technically, okay. We are a registered LLC.
Okay, we're a business. The most important thing to me about us as a company or as a brand is that we very much want to be a brand that is outworking our competition. And that's why we're doing daily episodes. And we're focused on entertainment. And I can't think of a better person on earth that's doing that in the TikTok space right now than GFed. It helps that he grew up where I grew up, and there's a lot of similarities with our paths in all of this. But yeah, there's a lot. I think like he kind of wants to get into college basketball. I think he needs a little, just almost like a helping hand guiding of like, hey, I've been through this before, and I can help him realize like what's a good deal, what's not. How do you position yourself best to make the jump from a full-time worker into doing both, into this is my life now. And I really like working with him too. That's the other thing. Like from the little I've talked to him, he's an awesome person And hopefully someone that you'll see on future shows if all goes well with our pitch here. We would like GFed to be a correspondent where, every now and then we call in and check in with GFed. Just GFed, where the hell are you? Are you in Iowa right now? Are you in Carver Hawkeye right now trying to sneak into the McCaffreys? Like, I don't know. I think the world could take us in some funny spots. So interview with GFed. We had him stick around to talk about Michigan State's backcourt later in the episode. And then Card, of course, Illinois won their first scrimmage in Spain. Not scrimmage, game. Won their first game in Spain. And we have all the details. We will talk about that later in the show. But first, Cart, 22 comments today. Is there anything you'd like to say before we go right into comments? I feel like, can I call you out, Cart? I feel like something's wrong today from your end. I feel like you seem a little out of it today.
What?
Maybe not out of it, but like I feel like there's not that twinkle in your eye of like happiness that sometimes I see from Carter Elliott. Is everything okay?
I think so, but now that you put that in my head, that's gonna be in the back of my mind for the rest of the episode. Why would you say that before we get into it?
I don't know. I wanted to check in on you, check in on your peoples. We talked about that last week.
It's true. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm great.
Okay, good. My bad. Maybe shouldn't have done that on camera.
I appreciate it.
All right, let's get to our 22 comments. David Crute 1498 says, appreciate all you guys do providing the consistent content during the dog days. Question for you guys. Do you have a favorite hoops conference outside of the Big Ten?
Big 12. Pretty easy for me, just because I enjoy, it's a conference full of really good basketball teams. So like I very much enjoy watching Texas, very much enjoy, Kansas State, Kansas, Baylor. I like watching that brand of basketball.
You've always loved Texas, and I just can't get on board it with you. I don't know why. I really want to, but
I would be a Longhorn if I was like coming up as a blue chip recruit. If I wasn't a Spartan, I'd be a Longhorn.
Yeah, my answer is the Big East. I don't know why. Even the new Big East. Like I feel like I vibe well with like Creighton and Xavier. I always fall in love with those teams, and the old Big East was definitely my preferred favorite back when Syracuse was in there. Now though, my favorite conference is the Pac-4. Huge fan of the Pac-4. Turney J 35 says, watching Riley's brain start to comprehend that he made a big time mistake trying to rationalize UNC being okay in the Big Ten football mix because he's not scared of Wisconsin was awesome. And then also Carter telling Riley he's going to miss his big thing shouldn't have been funny, but it was.
I feel like that's just a classic, just Carterism right there. Things that shouldn't have been funny are funny.
And then Riley Davis made his way to our comment section himself. Riley Fridays said, man, I started chirping, then realized I was like Icarus flying too close to the sun. So any thoughts on that reference?
I don't even know who that is or what that is.
Yeah, Riley, once again, with the whole private school, we went to the boathouse. He's really letting that shine through right now. Doug LaFleur says, love the podcast, everyday listener now and a big Illini fan. I want to get your thoughts on their roster, why I think it will be impossible for Brad to keep the locker room happy. I've never seen a team with 8 to 9 players who are legitimately equal in talent and skill. And then he went on to just a longer, well thought out comment about how he loves the overall team. I think that's a great point, Doug. I think other than Terrence Shannon, and I guess you could throw Coleman in there, I think guys 3 through 10 on this roster are almost identical in caliber. And that means some guys will be naturally unhappy. And that should be a both exciting and scary proposition for Illinois fans.
It should be, but also it can work. Like there's a lot of teams I think that have come across the having like too much, I guess, quote unquote, too much talent. But, guys can be unhappy and accept your role and accept that that's going to get you the success you want, as far as a team, winning things, hanging banners, going far in the tournament. As long as that unhappiness doesn't like seep into your performance or, the well-being and performance of the rest of the team, it can work. But like, that's one of the biggest things about college basketball. And coaches like to use like that culture word. But it's really very, very key that guys accept their role. Like there needs to be a guy who might be super talented, but he accepts that he's the glue guy of the team, and that'll work, and that'll make it, make the team be successful. So, given Illinois' past couple years, there's not a lot of guys that seem willing to accept lesser roles for the greater good of the team. So, maybe we'll see how it works.
Yeah, balance and depth, I think, are two very good things to have. Illinois has a ton of it on paper. Just got to keep guys happy. And I think the nice thing is I think some of the transfers they brought in this year are probably okay with playing complementary roles. Like last year, if you try to stick Matthew Meyer on the bench, then he just probably quits playing basketball, right?
Yeah. But you stick like Damask on the bench, I feel like he'd be completely okay with that.
Yeah, or Guerrier, or Justin Harmon, these guys, I think are just happy.
Sincere Harris will absolutely die for the Illinois logo. Like Luke Goody, those guys too.
It's a lot to like. More on this later because we are going to talk in depth about Illinois' first game. But there are things to like about this team. Jonah Freeman 149 said, I saw Greg's tweet about Purdue potentially being the best team in the nation if they are willing to plug Colvin and TKR into their primary lineup. Curious to see how you think the rest of their rotation shakes out. Lance Jones, Cam Hyde, First, Gillis, Morton, Waddell, and Berg bring a lot of talent to the bench, but only 3 or 4 of them will realistically see the floor in a big game. Waddell is not in the rotation, something I've heard many times in my life, but let's just be clear. Waddell is not part of this. They need to bench Morton. I think the big question is, will Painter actually get there?
The thing is, going off the last little monologue I just had right there, I think Ethan Morton would be completely fine with a bench role. I feel like Ethan Morton is one of those guys who would be fine with doing something for the greater good of the team. That's just me from the outside looking in. Obviously, I don't know that. But to me, he strikes me as a guy who loves playing for Purdue, loves the team, loves Coach Painter. If Coach Painter tells him to jump, he will say how high. If Coach Painter says, we'll be a better team if you come off the bench, he will come off the bench.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the question is Painter too blinded by his love for him? Painter seems to have a big thing for Morton and Gillis. And in my opinion, the less that Morton and Gillis play for this team, the better, given the other options. So we'll see. By the way, if Matt Painter told you to jump, what are you saying? What's your response?
God, I wanted to come up with something so great right there. Maybe I don't have it today. Maybe you were right.
Yeah, it sounds a little off. I don't know what it is. It's just the look in your eye. It's it looks a little dark in your room too. Even the globe doesn't look like it's got its full normal color.
It is a little gloomy outside. I don't know what it's like in Portage, but it's very overcast today.
Maybe that's all it is. For the record, Purdue looked awesome. We will do a full Purdue segment probably tomorrow, unless any crazy news breaks. Just didn't have enough time for it today. But I want to talk about Purdue. Yes, I tweeted, I think they're the best team in the country if they just start Colvin and TKR. Those guys looked really, really good in a lot of ways. So C. Schmide 2079 says, Greg saying that he needs to see Mrs. McCaffrey. I'm not going to repeat what I said. Have a blank with blank had me dying. Well done, Gregory. Well done, sir. Yeah, go back and listen to Friday's episode if you want to know what I said there. That was probably a little out of line. Spartan AG said, y'all should go to the Champions Classic this year. MSU, Duke, Kansas, Kentucky. Izzo better be able to knock off Duke now that Coach K is gone. I would love to. This seems like something people want from us, Cart, so we should probably make it happen. Should we go to the You want to go to Champions Classic with me?
I mean, if you had me, I will.
Okay. Looks like we're going to the Champions Classic. Clayton Lee said, wish the Illini had taken a chance on Brock. He's undersized, but he's fire. This coming from someone with 2 favorite teams, Illinois and whoever is playing Iowa.
Yeah. Brock Harding's got game for real. He gives me a Siegen vibes.
I got to tap into Brock Harding more. We had Basketball Jones hit us up on Twitter and basically said the Brock Harding slander. I didn't know who he was before we recorded on.
Take away a Siegen seasoning and you have Brock Harding.
Okay. I got to tap in. Jeff Horner 2.0, I guess. Doug LaFleur back in the comments says, my Illini shot 3 for 25 from 3 and 17 for 31 from the line yesterday. Same old story, same team. Love them, just being real. More on that later this episode. Seal Wah says, for college hoops to go, you got to make it to Illinois versus Iowa. Best environment at the State Farm Center. Also, Goat Bar, Illini, Trent Frazier. We've heard a lot of stories about Trent Frazier's times in the Illinois bar scene, and it honestly makes me reconsider my views on Trent Frazier.
I mean, that's just if you're going to be an Illinois Champagne legend, that's both on and off the court. You got to earn that. It sounds like Trent Frazier was earned.
Yeah, I wish there were more stories about other guys being Illini bar scene goats, because the Illini bar scene impressed me a lot when we were there.
Oh,
I feel
100%.
like they deserve to have more players at there. Also, Illinois, Iowa, had no idea it was such a heated rivalry. Can we even call it a rivalry? Had no idea.
Well, I mean, well, they got that. They had that thing with like the kids like buying fake tickets or something last year, wasn't that Iowa?
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. I mean, Orange Crush out of pocket. Like we've seen that
No, no
before. We
way.
love it. We love that. Yeah, just didn't know there was so much animosity between Illinois and Iowa. I guess it makes sense with McCaffrey and Brad. Like those guys are both insane in a good way, but just I didn't know that was a thing. Quinn Hazard says, longtime listener, first time commenter. Good to see you, Quinn. Will the Big Ten Roadshow be able to make it all the way to the West Coast? Might go crazy in the car together for that long. Your thoughts, Cart?
Yes, first of all, shout out my dog Quintavious, big time USC fan and a very avid listener and good friend of mine. I don't know if we would be able to make it to all the way to USC. I feel like either I would kill you or you would kill me.
Yeah, I speaking from my perspective through our road trip history, I don't think there's never been a moment from my perspective where I've been like, I want to kill Carter, or like I've never like gotten home from a road trip and been like, God, it sucks being around Carter that long. Maybe it has from you, and maybe I'm just unbearable. I'm totally fine to own that, but like you're one of the few people I haven't hit like a point of like I'm tired of being around him.
True. And I also feel like we got great like car chemistry. Like
Yeah.
sometimes like let's just run a whole Drake album. Sometimes we're like let's run this pod. Like
Yeah.
we just kind of go. No one complains about driving. We know when it's time to stop.
Yeah.
So
We let each other rock. Like we have good chemistry on and off the microphones.
yeah. We also have unlimited data too, so it means we can use hotspot in the car to make things happen too. So
I am excited that Quinn is now a Big Ten fan also. I know he's a USC fan. That's going to be fun having him involved. I will say, as far as the Big Ten Roadshow goes, or the College Hoops to Go thing, I am not ever going to ask Carter to do that again, road trip style with me, because that was a big ask from me, and he was willing to go along with it for a year. If somebody, hypothetically, if an entity wanted us to do a road trip series, I think we would do it for a price. And also, as far as driving all the way to the West Coast, I would never sign up for that unless an entity, hypothetically, gave us a bus. Like if we had a College Hoops to Go bus and we had a team producing a show and they were like, Greg and Carter, you just got to be on the bus. We're going to California. I'm immediately signing up for that.
100% easily. It ain't got to be a bus. Put us in like a little Sprinter van.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah. That is what it is. Thanks, Quinn. Zach Stewart says thoughts on Kobe Campbell, the JUCO guard that Michigan is pursuing. Maybe he could fill a Duncan Robinson role. I think we are. We'll get to him later this week. I see Carter's face. We have to do a segment on Kobe Campbell. Okay. Yeah, we have thoughts. He can shoot the piss out of the ball. I'll say that. He can shoot the piss out of the ball, Zach. Let's move on. Nate Rhodes, 5397, said, I also need Power 5 teams to start scheduling home and homes with those non-con teams that are semi-relevant and make the tourney most years. You're still caught up on Kobe Campbell.
Hey, what can he shoot? What can he do? He can shoot the what?
He can shoot the piss out of the ball. Shot 52% for a whole year, Cart. You shot 52% from three.
Yeah.
Yeah, like doing that in empty gym's impressive, is it not? 52% from three?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay. Sorry, Nate. We just have to move on. Clayton Lee's comment. He already talked about, no, somebody else talked about Brock Harding. He says more Brock Harding is legit. He's from where he lives. Yes, Brock Harding, I got to tap in. I did watch some highlights. It was pretty good. Aiden Tree says thoughts on AJ hitting threes and clamping DeMar at the CP3 camp. We talked about that in a full segment with GFed, Aiden, so stay tuned for that. A bunch of numbers, user and a bunch of numbers says, hey guys, big fan of the pod. Me and my buddy have been doing a sports podcast for years and are looking to take it to YouTube. Can you just talk a little bit about what editing software you use and the process of taking the recording from Zoom to YouTube? I can do that. I'm happy to do that, but I don't give away free game. I'm gonna say that right now. So I'm just kidding. I do to nice people, but I don't want to do it on this podcast. So slide in my DMs, whoever this is, user, just message me on Twitter or X, GWizzy12, and I will tell you everything I do. with the podcast. Clayton says, please tell me the possible third member for the podcast is an Illinois fan. That would be legit bump in viewership. No, it's not. He's a Michigan State fan. Also, we still have to win the recruiting battle, Clayton. And lastly, we would never, this is a misconception about us with Illinois Cart. We don't make decisions specifically for views from Illinois fans. I want to be clear on that. Like, the fact that we get views from Illinois fans is great. We love that. We do not change up what we would do as a show specifically to try to get Illinois views. We talk about Illinois because they're dramatic and we love it.
And we talk about any other team like that too. There's a lot going on, and lost in it all. And I feel like people think we hate Illinois, which we actually don't. Like, I like Champaign. I like Coach Underwood. I even like everything. I like the facilities. I like everything about it. But like, when dramatic stuff happens, when you team shoots 3 for 25 for 3, what are we supposed to do? Say like, oh yeah, no, we're not supposed to like talk about that. But we would talk about that if Michigan State did it. We talk about that if anybody else did it. So, I don't understand.
And there's a lot of people just like, why are these guys even talking about Illinois? They're not Illinois fans. We're talking about Illinois because we're a Big Ten Hoops podcast. And Illinois is one of the most fun teams to talk about in the conference. There's always more content around Illinois because of who Illinois is than anybody else. And we're going to talk about it. Hopefully people enjoy it. I think people do enjoy that. Not going to apologize for that. Fam says, thinking about MSU's title hopes this year. As obvious, the center spot is the weakness. Am I crazy believing it's not a huge issue? Tillman wasn't exactly an offensive monster. Cassius and him ran that pick and roll at an elite level 10 times a game. This year's team feels around that elite skill level. Main flaw I see is that a dominant center cooking them on the offensive end, but who really exposes that outside of Edey and Dickinson on top 20 teams?
Short answer for me on this one. No one at the center rotation is half of what Xavier Tillman is.
But I get his point, though, right? Like, okay, you can't beat Purdue because you don't have someone who can stop Edey. Fine. That goes for everyone in the country. You don't have to see Hunter Dickinson anymore. So, like, are you really that worried about center given who the rest of the roster is? I guess that's a fair point.
Yeah, well, what I was really trying to do is skate by that because one of my later segments involves this kind of topic.
Okay. All right. Move on. Clayton is back in Clayton with a high usage day in the comments. You love to see it, Clayton. Ugg just saw the numbers on Illinois' first exhibition game. 3 of 25 from 3, 12%. I wasn't sure it was possible to be worse than 3 than last year. Call me worried, Illini fan. More on that later. Sam Bourne says, how would you guys compare Fletcher Lawyer and Jaden Akins? It seems like most people would say Akins easily, but I think it is a lot closer than people think. He went on to give some advanced stats from Torvik and from Miyakawa, also like a poor pag and assist turnover stuff. How would you compare Fletcher Lawyer and Jaden Akins, Cart?
I think it's a lot closer than people think. It truly is.
I'm shocked by that.
I've been saying that I think Fletcher Lawyer is a really good player. I feel like people kind of, were looking at him as fact is he got hurt last year that I think people really didn't know about as much and hit that freshman year wall. But like, Fletcher Lawyer's got that dog in him for real. Like, he has that killer instinct to me. I saw him take over games earlier in the year against really good teams last year. And he's a guy to me who I think is going to get better. And this is not a slight to Jaden Akins, but I think Jaden Akins is really good too. And, maybe Akins brings some things athletically that Fletcher can't bring. Well, Fletcher's got some shit to him, and he's got a bag, and he's going to get better in my eyes too. Like, we're talking about Jaden Akins going into his 3rd year, Fletcher Lawyer's going into his 2nd year, and he's already a Big Ten champion, Big Ten tournament champion, a starter for a top 5 team in the country. Like, that's special.
It is. I guess I don't disagree with anything you said. I think that's more like impact. I was thinking more like, how do their games 1-for-1 compare? There's totally different archetype of players to me. The fact that there is a comparison here in that sense, to me, is an indictment on how Akins has been used at Michigan State. In my opinion, Akins is a super on-ball, dynamic guard that we just haven't seen be given the reins to do that. Fletcher Lawyer is like John Diebler with like a 1-dribble pull-up. He's a killer. He's great. He's going to be one of the best shooters in the country one day if he actually makes shots. But Jaden Akins is like dynamic ball athlete that is just not, and like a way better defender than Fletcher Lawyer too. Like I don't see the comp here other than they can shoot. And like they both play off the ball because Akins has to, and Painter is smart enough to use Fletcher off ball. I don't know.
I guess I was looking at more impact wise.
Yeah, impact. They're both good players, both very good starters. Good question, Sanborn. Thank you for the thought there. Ulamog says Carter looks very skinny over these Zoom recordings, but when there's men's league footage of budget Glenn Davis, something needs to be said.
Am I budget Glenn Davis?
I think that's what he's saying.
All right, I need that.
I mean, that seems a little harsh from Ulamog.
Ulamog DM me, set it up. We can play one-on-one. We might have to have a segment where the comment section can, play me one-on-one. You've seen that thing that people can play like $600 to play Andre Drummond one-on-one? I'm going to start charging $5 to play me, and it's going to go to the Sleepers Fund, and you can play me in one-on-one.
You would feast. I just want to say put a little respect on Cart, please. And by the way, he looks skinny in the men's league footage as well. Okay. Wherever that camera is, though, does not do the wonders that your camera at home does. I would just say, because it's coming from the ceiling. Like everybody looks off there. I'm just saying.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
That boy from Illinois says football is to blame for the realignment chaos. What should have happened was football separating from the NCAA, doing their own thing. Does anyone really care about Rutgers versus USC lacrosse game? No. Yeah, I think you're right. I've seen a couple other people propose this. I like the outcome, but I think it seems too difficult for the NCAA as an organization to actually do that, to just like say, okay, football, go away. Like, I don't think that's realistic, and probably why they didn't come to that outcome, but it would be best for fans if that is what happened. So we'll see. We talked about realignment last week if anyone wants to go back and listen to it. And the final comment of the day, Nate Rhodes says the comment section was told to shit talk y'all. So here you go. You guys suck. Super conferences are a terrible idea. I get it is just for money, but I agree with Greg on this one. They shouldn't make the smaller sport athletes suffer with all the traveling just for football or basketball. Just man up and schedule those teams in the non-con. Any final thoughts from you, Cart?
I don't know. I'm so sick of talking about realignment. Like, I feel like it's been affecting people's days and daily lives when I let it go like 2 days ago. Like, it's happening. Like, get over it.
To be fair, this comment was from 2 days ago.
So, it was?
Yeah, we're reading it 3 days. That's the classic, the weekend comments day. So thank you, Nate Rhodes. Thank you to everybody from the comments. Good day in the comment section. Let's get to our interview with GFed. Let's bring hopeful Sleepers correspondent GFed onto the show, Cart.
We welcome to the show GFed, internet sensation, TikTok superstar, sports fan, alum of my high school, Lansing legend. Hopefully that's enough adjectives and nouns to describe you properly. But no, in all seriousness, I do want to set the table somewhat seriously for anyone listening to this who's like, why is this guy on the show? If you haven't discovered GFed yet, I would recommend you start by searching him on TikTok. He's creating some of the best sports fan related content in the game right now. He has a bunch of different series that all, to me, are equally entertaining. But he's had a bunch of momentum recently with what you would call the walk-on challenge, which is essentially trying to get into facilities at the Division I level, both football and basketball, just showing up, grinding, driving across the country, showing up on a campus and seeing where that takes you. And it's taken you some very entertaining places, my friend. So full transparency again, Cart and I we were consuming GFed's content and sort of messaging each other back and forth of like, we're pretty impressed by this. Like this reminds me of something that's both awesome and smart and blue collar grinding, and also like a little twist of like crazy enough that we might do this. And you're very entertaining with how you do it, which is kudos to you. I don't think other people could do this the way you do it and make it as good. So anyway, you were on our radar for a while of us sending each other these videos, like this kid's crushing it. And then you actually shouted us out in a TikTok video. And long story short, we've been talking back and forth the last couple of weeks. I alluded to it on Friday. We talked a little off camera about it, but there is an ongoing recruiting pitch going on right now. Through the years, we've had interest in expanding Sleepers Media in various forms, not necessarily adding a third person to the show or anything like that, but there's been people who have asked to work with us in various ways. And you are one of the first, if not the first person that we actually made a phone call to and been like, hey, there's something here. Let's figure it out. So that's what's happening right now. We're in an active recruiting pitch with GFed. GFed very well may turn us down in a couple of weeks, but at the very least, he's on the show. We're going to interview him, get to know him a little bit more, and hopefully it goes well and we can convince this man to be a regular in some capacity on the Sleepers Media Network. That was long-winded, but did that properly capture things, GFed?
Yeah, I think you did a good job. And before I get into anything, after all this high praise, which I greatly appreciate, with some of the growth that I've been seeing on TikTok, a lot of different opportunities have come my way. I've been wanting to do a podcast, at least as a guest, not hosting one, but as a guest. And this is the first one that I've done ever, before any of this happened on TikTok, during it. And I choose Sleepers because this is legitimately one of the podcasts that I listen to more than anybody. I have a high level of respect for everything they do at Sleepers. Even before this happened on TikTok, I was listening very consistently for years prior to this, before I even had an account, actually. So I think it's smart to, invest in the things that you buy. So my first appearance I wanted to make on Sleepers because hopefully I can bring some people into this podcast, and hopefully you guys stick around after too, because these guys are just great at what they do. And I'm just honored to be on the same panel with them today. So thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to a great show.
GFed, first of all, that's absolutely way too kind, and you're giving us way too much credit on this one, but I do appreciate it. And we're not going to beat around the bush, because that's not what we do on this episode. So me and Greg are hanging off of a bridge, right? And you got to keep one sleeper. Which one are you keeping? Because everyone who listens to Sleepers, they have a favorite sleeper. Whether it's Greg's annoying them one week, Carter's being too harsh on it. Do you have a favorite sleeper? And it's okay if you don't pick me. It's all right. I understand.
No, dude, you're the tag team. What are you talking about? If one of you got removed from this podcast and it was just Carter or just Greg rambling for like an hour straight, I would not listen to that. You need the back and forth. You're like Edge and Christian. You're like the Dudleys. Like, one doesn't exist without the other. You need to be together.
Okay, but now Titus and Tate are hanging off a bridge. Which one do you save?
Man.
Just asking every single podcast you on which one you're picking.
GFed didn't expect this. It's okay. You already are well advanced beyond your years in media management. Clearly, you successfully dodged a Carter Elliott question. That's a good thing. That's something that we would expect and require from anyone that we were interested in collaborating with. So let's just get into it for a little bit. Again, I guess at the top, we'll say this at the end too and throughout, but at the top, like, tell people who you are and sort of how this came to be. How did you even get into the world of creating content in sports?
Yeah, so I'm GFed, as Greg introduced me as. My meat and potatoes happens to be on TikTok. I'm on Twitter with the same handle too. Instagram at GFed Go Crazy. But TikTok is where I have built myself to be in this position in the first place. I started making content March 2nd is when I started doing it on a daily basis. I had a few things, on and off before that. I thought some did pretty good for having like 50 followers at the time. So I was like, shoot, this might be something that I can continue to roll out and continue to build into, something that could have a decent following for, and maybe make some money on the side as well. I started that. I think it's surprising to a lot of people. I am a college basketball fan first, kind of like everyone at the Sleepers is here. I'm a huge college football fan too, don't get me wrong, but I breaded my butter at the start with college basketball content, and I was moving through that for a few months. Some videos were really, really good for my following. Some of them sucked ass. They're all on my page for you guys to decide for yourself. And one of the things that I started with in July was this high school basketball lore series that I was doing that I thought was, gaining some pretty good traction for the following that I had at the time. I documented being from Michigan, seeing Imani Bates, my perspective from that, and then kind of parlayed that into talking about Lansing Sexton. I'm sure there's a good Lansing following on this podcast. Everyone knows the 2012 team was crazy. And then after those videos did good, I started getting comments and, other ones. across the country, but I wasn't around for it. So it took a little bit more research to figure out. So much so that I ran into a day on a work trip where I just did not have the time to research high school basketball in Washington State for like 4 hours and drop a video. So I improvised, had to make content that day. Went over to the University of Wyoming because, prior to this challenge, it's always been something that I've liked to do. Even off camera, if I drive by a D1 campus, I like to check out the facilities. I like to see different stadiums. So I just recorded myself doing that at Wyoming. That seemed to do well. And then I came back to Chicago, where I'm based out of. People wanted to see me do it at more places. I just skipped up to Evanston, went to Northwestern, saw some success there. I already had my day planned out that I was going to work on content the whole time. So instead of, just grinding research and, grinding out a video behind a green screen like I was doing most of the time, I decided to just drive to Champaign instead and make my third video on the walk-on challenge at Illinois. At that point, either I was just going to be a crazy content creator that just went to Champaign for like 5,000 views or really turn this into something. And we turned it into something from what I've been told. So we just continued striking while the iron's hot from there. That Wyoming video happened July 12th. So we're about almost a month into kind of all of this unfolding. And yeah, a lot of big things have come my way. A lot of big things I think are going to be happening for the future. And I'm just excited and thankful to be in the position that I'm in.
See, that's why I'm a big fan of yours, GFed, because Greg already alluded to it, but you're just a grinder, because I've been on my fair share of work trips and I've had my fair share of breaks on work trips. And I'm not going to lie, the first thing that comes to my mind is not, let's see if I can pull up on the University of Wyoming, walk around the facility. Sometimes I like to work in a nap, maybe throw in a nice little sports bet or something like that. But you're just built differently. Obviously I've consumed a lot of your content. I've been following along as everybody, kind of has. When me and Greg did our cross country thing, we found ourselves like finding things along the way, having like favorite facilities, things like that. Is there one that sticks out to you? You said Wyoming because that was kind of the first one, but is there one that was like maybe a little more special than the other ones?
As far as being special, for the sake of, good content, I think that the Eastern Michigan video was, that's the biggest one I've done so far. And that was just so surprising to me because I didn't think I was going to pull that out of a MAC school, but just the way the story unfolded with that one was super crazy. And I thought it was going to make a good video. It did. I got a shout out because I think honestly, my biggest following at this point is in Louisville, for my video over there. Everybody on that campus, around that community has showed so much love. And, I kind of like the idea of kind of picking up, teams along the way that, really get behind me. And Louisville's been doing phenomenal with that. So just seeing how they've reacted to me coming to their campus and, shedding some light on how much I enjoyed their facilities and where they're at. I was really a big fan of how that all unfolded as well. So I think those are the two videos that really stick out to me as like, wow, like we really did something here.
Yeah, so that celebrity softball game was crazy. I wanted to be there.
Right?
That's it. So, I couldn't believe that there was not that many people there. And like, come on, man. Harlow, Taylor Rooks, with all due respect, like, come on, you got to pull up to that.
All right.
I'm so happy you brought that up because I still feel like that video, in comparison to the rest that I've done, did not get the credit it deserved. Because I pulled up there and okay, the funny thing is kind of the story before the story. I actually went to Louisville twice. I was being really dumb one morning in a hotel because I had a video that was just stuck in processing and not uploading to TikTok. That happens like, once in a blue moon with some of your content that you make on TikTok for people not familiar. And one of the tricks that they say is, you just got to delete the app, re-download it. So I literally rolled out of bed. I checked my app. The thing still wasn't getting any views on it. So I was like, okay, let's just reset everything, turn it off and turn it back on again. Like that's going to fix everything. And I totally forgot to recognize that when you do that, you actually delete your drafts. So my draft of the Louisville content, I was in Lexington at the time, by the way, too. So I was already, came and went from that city, but I was like, man, I still got to get something out there. luckily when I was at Louisville the first time, I ran into people that actually recognized me for the first time on the walk-on challenge. I got somebody's number, and this same guy, I kind of told the whole thing. I was like, hey, I'm gonna like come back around today to like redo this because like this is a good video. I want to make sure we can drop this. I'm not in Louisville all the time, so I'm just gonna drive an hour back and make it happen. And he tells me that he's like, yeah, I'll be around today. I'm at this celebrity softball game that, you know, is for like Jack Harlow. He only mentions Jack Harlow. So I'm like, okay, like Jack Harlow's easily the biggest Louisville celebrity. It's probably gonna be him and a bunch of people that maybe is locally famous. I'm not gonna know. But you know, I might be able to get Jack Harlow in a video. So I want to kind of pull up to this and see what happens. And this guy just underplayed what I walked into so much. The first person I see right as I walk in the door is Joey Chestnut. And then I look in the field and I think I see Cole Bennett. He's there too. And then they got like Miss Kentucky. They got Jordan Nwora was there. Bunch of different, you know, alums of Kentucky and Louisville that just have major names. And I'm like, why did no one come to this? I paid $15 to see, you know, someone that would sell out an arena for like triple that money, plus like 5 other people, the notable names on top of that. So that was just wild. Biggest side quest of the walk-on challenge I just happened to come into. That was just a crazy event.
First of all, I just want to say that, Carter, if we ever get big enough to the point where you have the opportunity to do a sit down with Taylor Rooks, that will be the day that I depart from any business relationship with you, because I do not want to be responsible for the things that you say in a sit down interview with Taylor Rooks. Just want to say that.
What do you mean by that?
I mean by that, every time anyone sits down with Taylor Rooks, they say the most absurd thing ever. And those are like normal people with normal brains.
Oh,
if you sit
like
down, yeah, like
okay, the normal brains comment was a little bit of too much of a jab.
You say the type of shit that like NBA players say with Taylor Rooks just on a Tuesday. So if you're with Taylor
Brown talking about how he can dribble with his left hand in front of Taylor Rooks, like just completely lying.
You would just get in a chair with her for 5 minutes and just be like, oh yeah, like I can go to the moon, and I'd just be like, all right, let's cut this off. One of the questions that I had when I first discovered your videos before we actually got to talk to you at all, and I think this is a question a lot of people have that I think I've seen on some of your videos, is do the schools help you with this, or is this truly like you're just showing up, you have no idea where you're going, and you're making this happen?
Yeah, that's a very valid question and something that I do get in my comments a lot. This long story short, I do not get any help from the school unless I specifically say that I do. Like a good example of that is I got onto the Spartan Stadium field because I worked with somebody that actually I knew long before I was making content, that worked on the athletic staff. That's like, hey, I got a key if you want, you know, like go around here. So I do like to make this as authentic to like what a regular fan would do as I can. To protect that, I don't use my, you know, I guess you could call it status around a college facility at this point to make it a better video unless I clearly state that out. The one thing that might be a gray area to that I have worked with a bit is like, for example, for the Purdue video, I got reached out to by someone that works in Purdue athletics, and we worked out when I was going to be there. And I didn't meet him until after the video. I didn't tell him when I was coming. I just told him I was going to be there. And that was for the sake of like, hey, you know, if something gets hairy with this situation because I'm kind of doing something I'm not supposed to do, can you like, you know, cover my ass in case someone tells me like, you got to get the hell out of here type of thing. So that doesn't happen on every video. Even videos I've done after the Purdue video, sometimes I'll just say, I don't have a contact here, I'm going to send it anyways. That's what I did at Kentucky. But there is other times that I actually am trying to do a little bit more often where I can get some sort of air coverage so I can continue a video and not get just sent out of there immediately.
And you know what? Me and Greg have a great relationship with Purdue comms and Purdue people. They are great people. They're very accommodating. They really are. I'm serious.
Yeah,
I agree. I love Purdue. The guy that I worked with, his name's Landon. He was great. And I also got to connect with them at Big Ten Media Days where I was able to see a fair share of, you know, athletes, coaches, whatnot. And they went out of their way, I would say, to help me out more than any other school there. So yeah, shout out Purdue. Great people there, great program. They're definitely my Big Ten West bandwagon this year in football. They're who I'm
Like
rooting
that.
for.
And you gave me a perfect segue when we talked about the Big Ten Media Day things because obviously, I can't. When was that, Greg? When we went to our first Big Ten Media Day, was that
This must have been 2 full seasons ago now.
2 full seasons ago? And when I was watching your video, Jeep, it literally brought me back to when we did ours, and like we're like surrounded by the Lansing State Journal and the Detroit Free Press, and all these guys are trying to figure out what's going on with the season. And meanwhile, like I'm trying to ask Juwan if he like certified lover boy or Donda. So like, what was that experience like being at that Big Ten Media Day? And also, I can't believe you dabbed up Harbaugh. What's going on with it? Like, I understand you want the content and it's great and it's probably great for views, but like I would have hit Harbaugh with the like one of these, like, you good, my boy, but I couldn't actually dap him up. What was that experience like at Big Ten Media Days though?
Yeah, Big Ten Media Days. I think it went pretty similar to the way that you described it for me. I felt like I was the only one there that wasn't a part of traditional sports media, and I actually got an invite. So, one of the company that helped me out, they're actually called Image of Sport, and they do photography. So nothing even close to what I do as far as content wise. One of the people there just happened to have a media pass for their company, and he liked what I was doing on TikTok, so he just DM'd me saying like, we got to see what this guy does here. So he hooked it up for me. Shout out them. They're on Instagram if you guys want to check them out. But so I wasn't with like a normal media company. They kind of wanted me to do whatever I felt like doing, so that's how I went about it. Lots of button down shirts, lots of blazers around. If you saw my content, I just pulled up an NWO shirt because I'm just there to, crash a party and make some good content. And that's what we went after. I think that the first day I was a little too shy for what I should be doing. There's a lot of, like I was saying, traditional media people that, had jobs to do to ask real questions, get real, content for all these pressers. And I was like, shoot, like I feel so out of place right now. But as we got into the second day, that's kind of when we transitioned, just, like, fuck it, we ball and go after whoever I can go find that would want to be into a GFed TikTok. And everyone I talked to was super, super cool about it, especially the other media people and the players. They were great. Getting a coach, though, is tough. Their itinerary, which I'm sure you've seen going to media days yourself, is jam-packed. They're usually going to have a squad of like 3 to 5 other personnel with them. So I just went up to everybody and just said, hey, can I just say what's up? I mean, getting a question out of a lot of them, especially the ones that are kind of under some heat right now, like Harbaugh and PJ Fleck. They're looking to get blindsided. So I'm like, hey, man, like, I'm just trying to get you for 5 seconds and see what we can do. And when I came across that way, everyone seemed to be pretty cool about it. I was even surprised a couple times just how willing they were. Harbaugh being one of them. That was the one where I was like, you know what, like, he got in and out of there so fast, and clearly to me didn't really want to be there to address what's going on. So I'm like, man, I don't think he's going to talk to me, but I might as well shoot my shot. So I did, and I made it. So that's what happened with Harbaugh.
Yeah, definitely some pretty clean daps in there as well. And if Greg ever wanted to really put me under the Big Ten Media Day fire, like you talking about the first day you were nervous, brother, there's a clip out there where I'm pretty sure I forgot Coach McCaffrey's name while talking to Connor McCaffrey. And it's the most awkward thing of all time. And I made sure Greg didn't post it, but he probably still has the video saved on his phone for like a rainy day when it needs to come out.
Yeah, I feel like I'm reliving specific memories of Carter and I's quote unquote like rise from being 2 idiot fans to like, oh, they can kind of do stuff in media now. And it's exciting, man. It's exciting to see somebody else kind of go through it the same way we are. Cause I haven't felt that way from afar watching anybody do it. I felt like we're very unique, and yeah, a lot of parallels here, which is awesome. And the media day content was fantastic. I was dialed into it the whole time. Very clean daps. That's something I hold myself to a very high standard for, by the way. So that must just be like, white boy grew up in the Lansing Catholic system. Like, there's something about that. We learned that a little bit at a young age. Shout out to Z Hirth. He's the one who taught me how to dap. So I've long had a theory.
That's what Lansing taught me.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta have a clean dap around the L.
Always. So I've long had a theory, and this is from a personal experience before I even met Carter, actually, that if you pretend you're supposed to be somewhere, you can basically get anywhere. And this is a theory that I've held because one night I was at I don't even know how to tell the story without saying it. I was at a friend's debut, which is like a Filipino bar mitzvah, basically. Okay. This was in East Lansing, my senior year of high school, the summer before college. And like, I was in a tuxedo, as were 20 of my other friends, at this big event at the Kellogg Center. And the night ends where everybody else is like drinking, dancing, all this shit. And me and my freshman roommate for college, who were going to move in like 2 months, were like, why don't we just go walk around campus a little bit? So we start walking around East Lansing campus in tuxedos and realize that there's lights on at the Breslin Center. We also realize we're in tuxedos. So we walk up, try to basically open all the doors. Everything was locked. And then through like the ticket office, there was an open door. We walk through it. A janitor comes up and is just like, who the hell are you guys? And we were just like, oh, we're here for the event, because we were in tuxedos. He's like, oh, go ahead. So we just had free access to the Brez, walked down on the court. Idong Ibak was in the weight room. It was like 11 p.m. on a Friday night, and Idong Ibak was just like lifting. So anyways, I've carried that theory for years that if you just pretend you belong somewhere, you can likely get in there. Maybe there's a little hint of white privilege in that, but do you think that that's a fair assessment?
To an extent, yeah. I mean, if you see my videos, I don't really try to like look the part to get anywhere. I'm honestly usually wearing a t-shirt and black Air Forces, which might be the opposite of looking like I belong somewhere. But yeah, I think that if you do anything confidently is always going to help your cause. I think honestly on my end, one thing that's helped me out, especially when I'm trying to stay at a stadium as long as I can, more so than the walk-on challenge. Because honestly, for the walk-on challenge, I don't run into people as much as you think I would say. But I walk really, really fast, just like my natural walking pace. I'm just zooming. So I think that if I am walking with a purpose and just kind of beelining spot to spot, people are a lot less likely to stop me and ask me questions. Especially if I look like I'm looking for something, which I am. I'm always looking for different points of content. So when I'm walking around, I'm by myself, I'm looking around, they're probably just like, oh, like this guy has just like lost his friend or his girl or whatever. So I think that, having a good walking pace, I would also attribute to being able to get around places that you might not normally be able to get to.
I do respect that, Greg. I respect that Greg truly feels that way about acting like he belongs places. Because there's some places where I'm like, all right, like we actually can't be here, Greg. And if we get found out here, it's not going to be okay. I'm not going to reveal those spots that we were at, but the kid really does feel like that. And GFed, I got like questions. I know Greg's going to hate this because a lot of them don't contribute to what is actually going on. Are you 6'4" and above?
Absolutely not.
You got to be 6'2", 6'3"?
No. All right, I actually gave away.
You carry yourself like you're 6'4". I feel like if I'm watching the TikTok videos, you're giving like 6'4" lanky. I'm here.
I would have guessed 6'1". All
right, I did a height reveal in my Rupp Arena video at Kentucky. So if you want to check that out, you can see what my height is, but I'll spoil it because I am the worst height that you can be. I am 6'0", like legitimately 6'0", and nobody believes you when you're 6 foot because everyone that's 5'10" and 5'11" ruined it. So I give you an honest height. They're like, there's no way you're 6 foot. You're lying to me. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. This guy's 5'11". He's right next to me, and I'm taller than him. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, well that also works because if this does happen, when I pull up with the Nick Saban bag and there's a Hellcat in your apartment complex driveway or something like that, we're the perfect height, and we'd be great for threes if we're hooping. That's perfect.
Yeah, we just getting a full blown recruiting pitch from Carter now on camera.
I'm just saying.
Why not? Yeah, we need to drop the NIL bag is the point, but Listen, man, GFed has a lot of opportunities. We're going to give him his time to make a decision, but the chemistry's working from my end. I would just say we like GFed on the show right now. We'd like to get him more involved in various ways. And back to the beginning. Now we are going full-blown pitch, just to fully spell it out. This is just a full-blown pitch on camera, GFed. There are some things we could help GFed out with too. We get him in the college basketball world a little bit more. So anyways, our comment section. If you're enjoying this, if you want to see GFed more on videos, let him know. Because if we have like 100 people saying we want more GFed, then it's going to be harder for GFed to turn all of this down. Also, we said we were going to do a segment here. We're going to advance our episode a little bit beyond just the interview. So I do want to talk to you about Michigan State. But my final interview style question for you before we flip to talking about the Spartan backcourt. What's next, I guess, right? Because all this stuff's coming your way. There's brands that want to work with you, including Sleepers Media. And I can relate to a feeling of being a content creator who found something that works and having this underlying fear that people might not see of like, I don't want to just be known for this. I'm not saying you probably feel that. And I've seen enough of your stuff to know whatever you do next is going to be great. But is there like an element mentally for you of like, what do I do outside of the walk-on challenge? Like, where do you want to go? What do you want to be beyond this? And how does that work as you like map out your content strategy?
Yeah. Before I dive into that, let me say too, you guys do not want me hooping. Even though I am 6 foot, I play like a center. I actually ended my basketball career because I grew up very tall and developed no guard skills, which, the 6 foot center on varsity basketball is not going to cut it. So
this is even better for Carter because Carter plays like a guard and doesn't want to be a center. So if you're our center now, it's perfect.
I can play point center. I'm a good passer. I can play point center, but once I get on D, we might need to switch off cart. Yeah, as far as what's next, yeah, I do understand that what I'm doing has somewhat of a shelf life, especially once students get back on campus. I'm still going to probably try my hand once that happens, but I think between that and also just getting a bigger following and moving in silence is getting just harder and harder. I'm probably going to need to switch a few things up, probably by the start of the college football season. And as that comes around, I mean, I think that what a lot of people like from my content that I really try to establish is I want people to scroll up, see my face, and think that I can be anywhere at any time with anybody. So that's kind of like the big picture of what I want to continue to do. Just kind of pop around to different universities, maybe some pro arenas as well. I think I can go deep into like an NFL, NBA bag, even baseball, like I've been doing. So just being feet on the streets a lot and working with that. Hopefully I can, work with some companies that can comp some travel to lower the expense of doing this a little bit. But continuing to do that, because I think that's just kind of a lane that people on TikTok or really anywhere aren't doing as much, at least independently. So I think that the angle of, doing this from a fan's perspective and not, being contracted out by like Fox or ESPN to cater to whatever they're trying to do on their game day experience, kind of do something, more independent, more catered to my following, and more just like catching the ambiance of, what like a game day looks like, what some of the traditions look like. Working with some people that are, pretty big within their own communities as far as a social media following. I feel like every university has like, they're like dozen or so people that are really, really big within the niche of like whatever football or basketball program they talk to, and would be someone that I'd be good to work with. So kind of building out that schedule for this college football season, something that I've been looking to do. The last couple weeks here. I got my first game on the books. Louisville did invite me back for the Louisville Notre Dame game, so I will be there in October. And obviously looking to do something at, some of my favorite teams like Michigan State, hop around the Big Ten a little bit more. And I think, going on a national level too, maybe get to at least one game from every Power 5 conference would be a good goal to have. So just kind of building that out, building those relationships with universities, and seeing what I can do independently and what I can do with a little bit of help, and just kind of molding that into an experience that no one's really providing in the sports media space right now.
Love it. Well, you're crushing, my friend. Thanks for coming on the show. We're here as fans first and foremost, but also here to support and help as people that have gone through it, and just big fans of what you do and excited to see where you take it next. So tell the people where they can find you, and then we are going to talk Michigan State with you briefly before we let you go. But where can people find you and all of your content?
Yeah. So once again, the meat and potatoes of what I'm doing is on TikTok. That's where I have my largest following by a pretty wide margin. I'm at GFed 33 over there. And then as I'm working on my TikTok, that's kind of gotten its stride hit now. I'm trying to build out a few other platforms. So I'm also GFed 33 on Twitter and then Instagram. Someone took my GFed 33 handle, which I had at one time before I was making content, and then I lost it. But I'm GFed Go Crazy there now. And on those platforms, I try to do some more like between the line stuff with what happens on the main page. So if you want to get more content from me that might not be necessarily exactly what I'm doing every single day on TikTok, I try to make everyone's follows worth it on every platform. So I think there's some good stuff to be had there. But those are the three main spots on that right now.
GFed Go Crazy.
Goes crazy.
A lot more than GFed 33. But you might have to change it because sometimes people get upset with you. Remember, G, like people were tagging me. They're like, "Yeah, who's Big Washed?" I had to button up my my image a little bit.
Yeah, I've been fighting the urge to change G Wizzy for years. Like there have been many people who have told me to change that, and I'm holding on to a very last string of that. But hey, keep it as long as you can, would be my advice. GFed Go Crazy goes crazy as a handle. Go ahead.
If I do anything, I was actually thinking about doing everything GFed Go Crazy, not gonna lie. I mean, I think I'm past the point of needing the 33. That's kind of what someone that doesn't have a platform was as their username. That's what I did before I had a platform. So it's in the back of my mind to transition that. So maybe there's a good way to pool the comment section if they think I should go full GFed Go Crazy or just keep the GFed 33. I like to get the feedback there, so let me know, guys.
That'd be my vote.
Might hit a character limit with Sleepers Correspondent GFed. Otherwise, that would get my vote. But hey, we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's talk Michigan State. So GFed, you are a Spartan fan, correct?
Correct.
Carter is also a Spartan fan, so I'm outnumbered 2-1 here. But I want to talk about AJ Hoggard. 2 weeks ago, I came on this very program and said that I've been too hard on AJ Hoggard, and I think I'm actually underrating the Spartan backcourt. And that includes AJ Hoggard. That primarily is because of AJ Hoggard. The thought there from my end was that I've basically written off his whole career up until now. I've said you can't be on a winning team with AJ. I saw some tape 2 weeks ago of him. His body just looked totally different. He looks like he lost a ton of weight, put on muscle, and just looks like a completely transformed man. Every highlight I've seen from Moneyball and beyond has been electric this summer. Highlights in the summer typically are electric, but AJ looks really good. Well, fast forward to this weekend when I believe it was the Chris Paul camp, Carter. Is that what it was? It was the Chris Paul camp where the quote unquote elite best point guards in the country are invited. There were a lot of names here. A lot of guys who are going to play in the NBA. Jared McCain, one of them, one and done type. And then a lot of veterans that have played at the college level were there, including AJ Hoggard. I'm not going to lie. When I saw the list of invites, I was a little surprised AJ Hoggard got the invite. Well, Jonathan Givony puts a 1.5-minute long video out of AJ just dominating this event, defending DeMar DeRozan and locking him down, getting a steal. The best part of that clip to me was he didn't even like smile when he got the steal. He just ripped DeMar DeRozan and was locked in going down in transition the other end. He was hitting jumpers. He was hitting step backs. He was hitting fadeaways, finishes, no-look passes, all of this shit that we've seen in flashes from AJ Hoggard through his career, but never all together. And Spartan fans are rightfully so going crazy. So, Cart, let me throw it to you first here. First of all, how excited are you about the AJ Hoggard developments here? How for real are they? Because I know you've had an up and down relationship with AJ as well. And just where does this swing anything for you? Does this change how you're viewing the Michigan State backcourt?
I think that it does, just in a sense of I'm actually buying into the fact that like his body does look like noticeably different, and he does look like he's in great shape. And AJ is going to be one of the older players on this team, and in just college basketball landscape in general. AJ Hoggard is going to be up there in age. He's played a lot of basketball games. He's done a lot of things. And for me personally, I don't know if it's ever been necessarily a talent issue with AJ, because you look at his career. No, just okay. First of all, don't make make faces when I'm in my monologue, Gregory. Okay, let me talk. Let me say my piece.
I'm gonna make faces in your monologue.
That's fine. Okay. But I'm saying he's made strides as far as he wasn't necessarily a really good free throw shooter. That was a bad part of his game. He increases his free throw percentage this past year. And he's done some things as far as, being that player that makes the assist, has the highest assist rate percentage stat that everybody loves. But the thing with AJ for me is that it's just the inconsistency part of it. It's like we can get what he was showing at that camp. AJ can play like that. AJ has had games where he is locked up really, really good college basketball players and NBA players. I've seen, we saw the clip of him, clamping up DeMar DeRozan. He also had games where he did that against guys like Jaden Ivey, had him in hell. Like, he has the ability to do that. The thing is, it's so many peaks and valleys with him as far as where he's at. It's when he's met with adversity in my eyes on the basketball court and things aren't going well for him, I think he lets it affect his play way too much. And when things are going great, he's talking shit. He's slapping the floor. He's yelling out, "I'm here. I'm WAP. Everything's great." It's just we're going back to the middle word. I feel like
Wappenheimer.
WAP. He just needs to just be a little bit more middle consistent, not so like peaks and valleys. And the valleys are, him on the bench in hell, and Izzo is chirping him out, and he's just ignoring it. Like, I can't get that image out of my head. I really can't. So it's good to see. I do agree with you, the fact that I think people are being a little bit too harsh on AJ Hoggard. Like, he's the last person that's mentioned, I feel like, when you talk about Michigan State and what they're going to and like what they're going to do for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he always needs to keep his finger on the button. You don't want to see the atomic bomb go off with AJ Hoggard. That's how I view it. Like, you want the threat of that to always be there. That's what makes him special. You don't want the bomb to go off. Okay, does that scare you? You said something really interesting there. You said, like, it's about peaks and valleys. When things go poorly, it almost always swings back in the other direction for AJ. When he's on top of the world, it usually comes crashing down. To me, this is the most near the top of the world AJ Hoggard's ever been. He has Jonathan Givony saying he just dominated the Chris Paul camp and is an NBA breakout potential guy. Is this going to come crashing down, GFed? Like, given all we know about AJ Hoggard, I feel like it's great in the moment. Should we be scared this is going to crash down to earth?
I'm feeling pretty optimistic about what we can do as far as AJ goes into the coming season. I think there is definitely a trend with MSU guys where, that senior season, that senior moment always gets the most out of them. AJ Hoggard is having that season on the horizon. So I do expect to see a little bit of a leap, which is pretty scary to think about because he already saw some really, really high moments last season. I mean, the game he had against Kansas State was one of the best we've seen from AJ, and that was the last game of the year. Like Card was saying, we need to see some consistency. I'm not surprised that he could tear up a camp. I also wouldn't be surprised if the next camp that he went to, we hear reports that he just completely shit the bed, and we do see that crash down. Will that happen in season? At some point, Izzo teams always have their ebbs and flows. I'm sure we're going to have a rough patch with AJ Hoggard at some point. But I think, the only way you can really take this is positive, right? From what I can see. But at the same time, I'm not the one to put too much stock into off-season footage. I've seen a lot of those come out that have not amounted to too much. And I've seen AJ do a lot of this stuff, not against, DeMar DeRozan, of course, but against some pretty high-level Big Ten players. So the big thing for me that I'm waiting to see that's going to make me really turn in a positive direction on AJ is seeing some shots from outside fall at a pretty high level. That to me is the one piece that he's missing from his game to really be like that NBA upside guy that we see. I've always thought offensively, AJ Hoggard kind of plays like James Harden if James Harden had a broke jumper. So if he can kind of fix that and get in like a poor man's version of that, I think that would be worth a pick in the draft. But that's what I need to see.
I'm laughing because I think that's actually a fantastic comparison, but I'm also laughing because I think that's probably my least favorite basketball player to ever exist. Like James Harden without a jumper is like if you could Frankenstein monster my nightmare player, it would be that player, which makes sense looking back on the years of how I've treated AJ Hoggard. Like, I can't believe I haven't thought of that comp. Card, I want to go back to pick one thing out. You said it's not been a talent thing with AJ. I think I just disagree harshly there. And I say that as someone who's really impressed with what I'm seeing this summer. Like I'm buying that the jumper might be real, which might change the way NBA teams view him, and it might change his entire basketball future. It also might change Michigan State's team this year. Like if AJ Hoggard's a legit shooter, then that team's probably unstoppable. But it definitely has been a talent issue to me in the past. There just isn't a market for, how tall is he? 6'3"? A 6'3" guard.
6'4".
Okay.
He's
Basketball
like 6'4".
Reference, I think, is 6'3". 6'3", 6'4". There isn't a market for a guard that is a career 32% 3-point shooter that's that big. Like there just isn't. And especially not.
But I'm not talking about NBA. That's not the thing I'm talking about.
I thought what you said was the fact that he hasn't been an NBA guy has not been a talent issue.
No. I think that I was talking more so to the fact that I think that he hasn't like hit that moment with Michigan State because I don't think it's a talent thing. I think it's more of a mental hurdle.
Got it. Okay, then I totally agree there, and I have no pushbaff, my friend. Great point.
I love it. I'm not as hard on AJ as you are, and I have had my moments with AJ, and kind of where I've been feeling about him, but even after like that clip of Givony released and what he's been doing, like that's still not an NBA player to me. Like that's maybe like I'm in the 50s. I'll take a chance and I'll just grab AJ Hoggard, a point guard that can pass. But like this isn't like shooting him up draft boards in my eyes. Like I'm more so looking at what he's doing now and how that's going to affect Michigan State college basketball season. Nothing beyond that.
I think it's really important that he is on the radar because I would have, if the over-under was a tweet that Givony ever mentions AJ Hoggard, I would have hammered the under and I would have lost my money on that. But it's not super meaningful. Like he's not on mock drafts for next year. Again, he's a 22-year-old point guard who has rarely ever made a 3-pointer. And again, people are going to listen to this and be like, he shot 33% last year from 3. There's different types of 3-pointers. AJ Hoggard was pretty much wide open on all the threes he took last year and shot 33%. And that's a great improvement. He took a lot of strides there because historically he was shooting 21% from 3 on wide open threes. It's different than being a shooter when they leave you wide open and you make that number.
Can I ask you guys an AJ Hoggard question to wrap this up?
Yeah.
As a fan of the show, I'm curious what your opinion is. Vegas odds that AJ Hoggard is drafted in the 2024 draft.
I think it'd be like plus. There's so much things that go on with guys who get drafted. Plus 350 that he gets drafted. Probably.
Yeah, I'm gonna say plus. My brain initially went to plus 400, and I might be being a little too harsh. So I like Cart's number plus 350. Would you touch that, Cart? Would you bet plus 350 AJ gets drafted?
No. I would not.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
All right. Yeah, I think that's fair. Last thing from me on this. Some people were tweeting that Michigan State may have 3 All-Americans on this team. They're in the backcourt. I saw a tweet that said we may have 3 All-Americans in the backcourt. Your comments on that, Cart?
They really think Jeremy Fears is going to have that great a season?
Let's just get somebody first team all conference first before we jump to we have 3 All-Americans.
It is okay to be happy with like clips and things like that without just absolutely overreacting. Like we don't always have to lose our minds to the fact that, Finnish Kenny Goins goes 4 for 3 for the Michigan Wolverines.
Hey,
like, we don't have to do that.
That's for a different video. Okay. This is about your backcourt. This is not about my front court. GFed, thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it. You crushed it. I hope this isn't the last time we get you on the show. You have an open invite, so I'm sure we'll keep talking about this, but good luck to you on your travels. Everybody, I'm sure, will enjoy this and click the follow button and hopefully become fans of yours, and vice versa with us. We hope your fans enjoyed us today. So thanks for coming on the show, man. We appreciate you.
Yep. Thanks for having me, everybody. I had a great time. I think that, we can continue to improve in this podcast space, and this is a good start. I actually just bought a microphone that I'm not using and a camera, so hopefully I come with some better quality next time. But yeah, I think that this is good to get, everything off out in the open that I wanted to about some of the stuff that I'm doing, and I'm hoping to do more stuff like this in the future. So thanks for having me.
Of course, make sure you monitor your mailbox over these next couple weeks. I don't know, something might show up in there.
All right, Illinois.
Do it.
All right, thank you to GFed. Everybody go follow him. Like we said at the top, hopefully that isn't the last time GFed is on the show. Open invite from our end, and there's still work to be done with the recruiting pitch, but enlightening conversation there. How'd you think that went, Cart? Did you enjoy GFed's presence on the show?
Yeah, and I'm a person who, when I, see something, I fall hard. Okay, so like if we don't get GFed, I'm gonna be distraught. I'll be honest with you. I'm not gonna go well. I'm not gonna go lightly. I'm not gonna just move on from it. It's gonna take some time, and it's gonna take a toll on me. So, not to put pressure on him, but he will affect me mentally in a negative way if it doesn't happen.
Let us know in the comment section too, please. That this is not me fishing for comments. I actually want actual feedback on this. Like, do you want GFed involved under the Sleepers umbrella? Do you think this is a stretch? Like, I can be talked out of my idea that I think GFed should be a collaborative partner with us in some way. Let us know. Did you like that? Did you not like that? Who knows? That was a unique segment for us, and we're all in on this mentally. Card and I are. So if we shouldn't be, let us know. Sleepers Nation. Let's talk about Illinois, Cart. Spain trip is underway. They had their first game against the Madrid All-Stars. I've been trying desperately to find a Madrid All-Stars roster. Can't find one. What I did find is that Nebraska played this team and beat them by 4 a couple days ago. Illinois, I got some shit from Twitter. I think that's where this starts for me. I went on the Sleepers account and made a few jokes at Illinois' expense. Surprise, surprise. I swear I'm not trying to troll at this point. I'm really not. I just found what happened with Illinois' coverage of this game hilarious. Like, first off, they started a walk-on named AJ Red, who I did not even know exists until the Illinois Twitter account tweeted out their starting lineup for this game. AJ Red's in the starting lineup along with Ty Rogers, Terrence Shannon, Coleman Hawkins, and Luke Goody. So, like, 4 starters and AJ Red. Like, what? You go to ESPN profile AJ Red, it's a picture of RJ Melendez. Like, I was cracking up, so I tweeted about it. Then after that, Illinois' official Twitter account tweets out a halftime update. It's the first tweet. No in-game updates. They just tweet out halftime update in Madrid. Illinois down 2 points at half. Then 30 minutes later, they delete that tweet, which I found hilarious. Like, you can't tweet a score that has you down by 2 and then delete it. Come to find out hours later, they deleted it because they were actually wrong about the score. So some intern probably posted this and got it wrong. Illinois was up 2 at half, not down 2. So, look, do I look stupid in hindsight for making jokes about this? Maybe. Do I care? No. I still find it hilarious that Illinois' official Twitter account is deleting tweets that say they're trailing in Madrid. That's so funny to me. Point is, Illinois goes on to win this scrimmage, Cart. There were a lot of takeaways. First off, they didn't shoot the ball well, but there were some positives here. We are going to talk about some positives as well. And ultimately, they won the game against the Madrid All-Stars by a score of 84-73. So we did not get footage of this. We fished around. There was no footage shared with us. We haven't seen it. We've only read the box, and we've seen highlights. What are your first impressions of this Illinois basketball team?
I'm going to stay on the positive side here. From the highlights that I saw, Dane Danger's still a monster. I got my Danger Zone flashbacks. That's still definitely a thing. That dude is, I think, a lot more skilled, too, than he gets credit for. Like, I think he can do a lot of things. He's not just like a guy who overpowers you. He actually has a variety of, like, actual post moves and counters, but while also being a massive human being. So he's very impressive. Just straight box score watching, Sincere Harris was filling up the stat sheet all over the place. I believe he had 5 steals in this game, which kind of goes along the lines of Sincere kind of becoming that player who's like a utility guy, I think, who's plays extremely hard, picks up full court, him being that guy. And then the last thing I'll say, 3 for 25. Obviously, that number sticks out to you. But what I will say is that dipping into my previous years of, playing D3 basketball at Illini in college,
it's hard to shoot overseas. It's hard to shoot overseas.
No. It's not hard to shoot overseas, but like you're doing this trip, you're going across the country, you're flying like 15 something hours. Time change. These gyms are usually stupid hot. The floors are sometimes shitty. Like stuff around. There's a lot of outside elements that make this kind of hard to shoot. And this is their first game in this setting, in this gym. I could see, shooting being difficult, to be honest with you. I also wouldn't be surprised if they came back next game and shot a lot better than this. I don't think it should be a holy shit, this team's not going to be able to shoot at all during the season. We're screwed. Like, I think that the thing is, it might flip around. I wouldn't go into full-on panic mode yet. And I feel like you might be different in this sense.
It's not a full-on panic mode. I'm going to try and be measured with this, but they can't shoot worse. Like, talking about they might come back and shoot better. They cannot shoot worse than 3 for 25.
They
could. They won't. I thought there were a lot of positives here. I'm going to start with you as well on the positives. I think you were right to lead with Dane Danger. He led everybody in scoring, 16 and 15, I believe. We've always been Dane Danger fans. The other thing is he did that in 19 minutes. Like, imagine if he played 35 minutes. I don't know what his condition is like at this point, but like if Dane Danger is just the every rep center for this team, like that production would have been like 28 and 20. And I think he's capable of doing that in the Big Ten. Like, maybe not 2020s, but I think like if Illinois wants Dane Danger to be a 30-minute guy, I think he is good enough to be an all Big Ten center. I really believe that. I think we've seen that. Last year's team didn't want to use him in that role. They wanted him to be like a 20-minute guy and sometimes play Coleman at the 5. I have no idea what Illinois is going to do with that this year. He's got to be good defensively, but I think he's a good enough rebounder and he has the offensive game for that to happen. That's why when we did our lineups last week, I had Dane Danger in my starting lineup. I don't believe you did. I think you had Coleman at the 5, which I think the reality is going to fall in between us. Like some games Dane's going to start, some isn't. I think it's best for Illinois if they just pencil him in as a starter and play him in 30 minutes. Next, you called out Sincere Harris. He was incredible. And again, this is a lot of just box score reading. There were some highlights you could see of Sincere in this game, but I feel like he's the forgotten guy when we talk about like guys that are going to take jumps. Everybody's talking about Ty Rodgers because they're putting Ty Rodgers in front of a microphone repeatedly to be the voice of this team. He's a point guard. Ty. Sincere was pretty damn good last year. Like, he didn't do anything crazy, but like as a freshman off the bench Big Ten guy goes, Sincere really popped defensively and like had a lot to him that would make me think, oh, for the next 3 years, he's going to be a nightmare for teams. The most impressive thing about Sincere in this game was he led the team in shot attempts, Carr. He had 14 shot attempts. He went 6 for 14. Nobody else on the team had more than 10. So like there was a lot of talk. There were interviews with Sincere where he talked about like, I need to not be a liability anymore. Like I have owned the fact I wasn't good enough offensively. I didn't have anything to provide offensively last year. And if Sincere's a legit offensive guy on this team, I don't think he comes off the floor. Like he's that good defensively that like, maybe you're not searching for whether it's point guard or something. Like he's at least a 30-minute guy at the 2 if he has an offensive package that he didn't have last year.
Yeah, and I think that, we spent so much time, including other people, like on this podcast, staking our claim as far as us believing in Ty Rodgers. Like just Ty Rodgers' work ethic, Ty Rodgers the player, Ty Rodgers the person. We believe in betting on that guy to improve. Sincere Harris is one of those guys too, because everything about his mentality, his work ethic is a guy that makes you want to bet on that guy that he will improve in areas. So, maybe it's going under the radar, but a guy like Harris, I think he's wired as well to where he's like, why aren't they talking about me getting better? Like, I'm going to put in the work. Like, I'm going to make things happen. I'm not going to be a liability on the offensive end for this team, like you stated. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a positive reaction to have. I think he is somewhat of the forgotten guy when people are talking about Illinois this year.
Yeah. Also, like,
not to do a 1-for-1 comparison, because Sincere is wired totally different. He fits the culture of this team, all of that. You're not worried about anything with him. But like the fact that Sincere Harris looked really good and productive in this game kind of brings me back to why like I was so adamant that it was going to be impactful that Illinois lost some of their young guys. Like I think you should have wanted to get Jaden Epps back, and Jaden Epps probably looks pretty good in this environment if he's on this team, because guys make a jump from freshman to sophomore year, and it's helpful to get those guys back. Now, I get why Epps had to go. I'm not saying it was a bad thing anymore, but it just reminded me of that. Like, oh, Sincere Harris popped in this game. Wouldn't it be nice if they had another young guy that could have came back with him? We do have to talk about some of the negatives, and for the shooting thing, 3 for 25 from 3. The more concerning number, because that's just like an outlier. Okay, they didn't shoot well for a game. That's bad, but that happens. They shot 17 for 31 from free throw. That number scares me almost more than the 3-point does, because like I have a hard time, like on a sample size of 30 free throws, the whole team shot poor. Like you can go down the list of guys who shot poor from the line. Dane Danger was 2 for 6 from the free throw line. Starting point guard Ty Rodgers didn't attempt a 3-pointer and was 1 for 5 from the free throw line. A bunch of other guys were 1 for 2 and split 1-and-1s, including Sincere Harris, Drake Gibbs Lawhorn, Moretti. Like that's just like, that's a sign of this team's just not very good at shooting to me. And the 3-pointers thing was Shannon and Hawkins. Like it was everybody, but Shannon and Hawkins were combined 0 for 10. We know that Shannon and Coleman can shoot. Like, so I'm not worried about that number in a crazy way, but I am rolling my eyes at everybody that came at my Twitter mentions and on the comment section all summer when I said, I don't understand how Illinois got better at shooting. You replace Matthew Meyer with a bunch of guys who can't shoot. You put Ty Rodgers in the lineup. How is your team getting better at shooting when you have a guy who doesn't attempt threes and can't make a free throw? Like your team is not going to be good at shooting. So I do feel like I get a small victory lap even on day 1 of summer on that. Like across the board, Illinois fans were like, we got way better at shooting. No, you didn't. Like this is going to be a consistent conversation, even if they shoot better next game for the rest of the season on if Illinois can make shots.
But you got to think like they're like you just said, Shannon will be able to hit shots. Coleman will be able to hit shots. Luke Goody's going to be able to hit shots. The main core.
Luke Goody did hit shots. I mean, but he's their sniper. He went 2 for 6.
But that's what I'm saying. He went 2 for 6. That's an off game for Luke Goody. Like that's
the team outside of Luke Goody shot 1 for 19 from 3 card.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's definitely not ideal. But I mean, also 5 of those attempts came from Sincere Harris, and I don't even think he'll be attempting, or he should be attempting threes.
Yeah, but the flip zone there is I think it's a good thing he was attempting. Like if Brad's given him the blessing to shoot 5 threes in a game, that bodes well for me from Sincere.
Well, on these trips, you should have the blessing to do whatever the hell you goddamn please. Like that's what these are for. Like it is a green light. It is a blessing. Go do stuff. Go work on stuff.
Other stuff from me. I think Luke Goody looks like a starter. I just want to say that. Like we saw a couple highlights that involved Luke Goody, and just reading his box score, like I think he's going to be productive in this role. And again, this team desperately needs shooting. Even if he doesn't make shots at an elite level, he's gonna shoot. Like
Goody Hive.
He's gonna find his way onto the floor. Brad very clearly said we're gonna play everybody the same in this game, other than AJ Red, I'm sorry, who played 6 minutes, but got the start. Everybody else just 21-ish minutes down to like 14-ish minutes. He just cycled guys through. I think that's what you should do in the summer. That's good. We got to talk about point guard, man. I read the Ty Rodgers line, but I want to read it again because I'm terrified right now. 3 for 5 from the floor, good. 0 3-point attempts, bad. 1 for 5 from the free throw line, horrible. He had 4 fouls, iffy. 7 points, 2 assists, 3 turnovers, 0 blocks, 0 steals. I mean, I'm sorry. That's the guy we saw last year. Yeah. Like that guy can't be your starting point guard if you have any hopes of being anything. And maybe that changes. Again, it was 1 game and we didn't see the full game, but I'm going up and down this list. There's a lot of other guys I'd like to see play quote unquote point guard that aren't Ty Rodgers based on what happened in this game.
Well, that's what scares me even more, because you go down the box list again, or box score again, and you're like, okay, well, maybe Terrence Shannon can kind of take the bulk of the, ball handling duties. He has 5 turnovers in this game. Sincere Harris himself 3 turnovers in this, so it's just 3 turnovers, no assists. So it's definitely something that doesn't make you feel good. I don't want to use the alarming word, but yeah, if this is what you're getting, like, for the rest of the year or rest of whatever's going to happen, there should be a cause for concern. You definitely want to see a bounce back game from Ty in the next game. Doesn't be anything crazy, but bounce back for sure.
21 assists to 10 turnovers, or I'm sorry, flip that. 21 turnovers to 10 assists.
Yeah, not ideal.
I mean, that's a
That's
team
bad.
that's a team that doesn't have a point guard. Is what it is. Like, if you had anybody that's a point, and that's just why I screamed about it all offseason, guys. That's why I gave you a D. Just get a point guard. Like, it's insane to me. They also, I mean, this is such an interesting box score, man. 0 blocks for the team. Are we worried about rim protection at all? Like, Dane's not a rim protector, but more or less this is the same front court they had last year, except Matthew Meyer was a pretty good shot blocker.
Yeah, Coleman's a pretty good shot blocker too. Matthew Meyer learned how to block shots from Coleman. Don't forget that.
So we're not worried about the blocks. That was just like a one random game thing.
No, I also would bet any money that if I could watch that game film, there was a block.
Okay. Well, they got so much of everything else though, like 16 steals and 0 blocks. Somebody just wasn't tracking blocks.
I would like to know. It is interesting to know who keeps these box scores because it can be different depending on who keeps them. That's definitely a thing. I wish they would have put the Madrid All-Stars box out. Like, Illinois' team couldn't put those. Did they just not want us to read the names of who's on the Madrid All-Stars? Last thing from me, I think Damask is important to this team. And I downplayed that all offseason. I think at one point I had a coming to Jesus moment of like, I've been too harsh on Damask. Want to be very clear, especially after seeing the early returns. Damask matters for this team. He didn't play in this game. He's out with an injury. They need his shooting desperately. They need him and Luke Goody to be guys that can shoot 4 threes a game and make 2. And Luke Goody can do that. Right now, he's the only guy on the roster that can do that. So Damask, I think, will play a larger role than I admitted, even if he can't do anything but shoot, just because they need guys that are shaped like shooters that shoot the basketball. We did hear from a couple people that were there. We asked, like, what's the takeaway? Positively, negatively, all that. One of the positives we heard people say was that Gibbs Lawhorn looked great. That maps with what we have kind of alluded to. We've heard rumblings of this. We've seen some practice tape of it. His box score doesn't scream anything crazy to you. In fact, he only played 11 minutes in this game cart. That's tied for the second lowest of this entire group with Amani Hansberry, the other freshman. But he was 2 for 6 from the floor. He was 0 for 2 from 3, 1 for 2 from the free throw line. He didn't shoot it great. 5 points, an assist, a turnover, and a steal. But again, some of the highlights of this game, if you watch, like, there was the big Terrence Shannon dunk, and then there was also a lot of Dre Gibbs Lawhorn doing stuff with the basketball that, quite frankly, I just don't think anybody else on this team can do. I say they don't have a point guard. Like, Gibbs Lawhorn's the only guy on this team that can consistently beat his man and get downhill, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, I throw Shannon in that mix too.
And Shannon.
But yes.
So, still holding Gibbs Lawhorn stock then from your end after this game?
Yeah. Okay. Why was everyone getting mad at us for calling him Carson Edwards 2.0?
It was mostly Purdue fans who thought that was a crazy comparison.
I mean, I guess I don't want to get mixed into whatever that situation is between the drama between those two fan bases, but like, it's clearly obvious. Like, when you watch him, that's kind of who you see.
I mean, yeah, I don't hate it. That comp to me was more about Ty Rodgers being no gel, and we're talking about like a dynamic guard playing with them. I don't think it's like a 1-for-1. Gibbs Lawhorn reminds me of Carson Edwards the way he does you. I've heard you say that. Carson to me was just so, like, he was the best step back 3 guy in the world. Like, he was going to get 6 off the dribble threes every game and make 3 of them or 2 of them that he just creates by himself. I don't think Gibbs Lawhorn can do that from what I've seen. I think he's bouncy and can get downhill, but like, I have questions about, is he going to create threes for himself or not? Or do you even want him doing that? Like, that was Carson's whole game. So I got to see that.
I don't even think Brad would let TGL do that.
Yeah. It's very interesting to me. He only played 11 minutes in this game.
Yeah.
That's 6 minutes less than Justin Harmon. So Harmon looked good, by the way. I also heard that when I say we heard things from people, they were also impressed with Harmon. So I think stock is up for DGL and Harmon right now in the backcourt. You know what that means. They're stock down for somebody else in that backcourt right now. So more to come, of course. And any comments from you on our mentions? I had to block a couple people, Carl. I don't like blocking people. I didn't tell you that.
I didn't like. I wasn't able to keep up with what was going on. To be honest with you, I just saw that we were getting mentions and whatnot, and I was like, "Oh, what's Gregory up to?"
People think we're just trolling. Like, it's not trolling. Like, and then after Illinois' official account deleted the halftime tweet, they posted the final score, and everybody like went back to my tweet and was like, "And what's the update?" And I'm just like, they won the game, and it's still hilarious. They deleted the half. Like, it can be hilarious that they deleted that. And also, no, like, it's fine. Illinois won the game. This isn't a big. I wasn't tweeting that to be like, oh, Illinois stinks at basketball. I was tweeting because it's funny that their Twitter account deleted the halftime score. That's hilarious. Okay.
Have a chuckle every once in a while.
It's not that serious, man. And I get, we talk about Illinois a lot, but it's because it's fun to talk about this team. It's not that we're baiting or trying to troll or make fun of them. It's just really fun to talk about this team and this program. So anyways, congrats to Illinois on their 1-0 start to their season. Is this a hang the banner moment for you, Cart? Are we hanging a Spain banner potentially?
If we win the second game, yeah, it's up.
And we start to talk. We will hopefully have more. We're still trying to get video on this at some point. So stay tuned. Thanks to everybody for watching the Illinois segment today. Let's move to our one big thing. Carter, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first today?
I'd like to go first, okay, because my today one big thing, I feel like the last couple of times I've been, either sentimental or kind of just, I don't even know what it is, but this is a statement that I want to make. I'm going to go back to the sports kind of theme of the one big thing presented by Big B. I'm sick of the humble noise, okay? I'm sick of being like, okay, why am I thinking to myself, oh, what's Carson Cooper going to do for this team? Oh, what's Maddie Sissoko going to do at the center spot? Oh, maybe Kohler's a guy. Oh, maybe it's Xavier Booker. No, I'm not worried about that, okay? All Michigan State fans, book your tickets to Phoenix. We're going to the Final Four. This team is nasty. AJ Hoggard is going to be nasty. Tyson Walker is going to be nasty. Jay Nagins, going to be nasty. Colin Carr, going to be nasty. Malik Hall, going to have a healthy foot. We are going to be tough this season, okay? We are going to have dogs. Izzo's going to be in his absolute go-yard duffel. Steven Izzo's going to make sure he doesn't get technicals during the season. Jason Wittens isn't walking through that door. Pierre Brooks isn't trying to walk through that door. We are going to the Final Four this year. Book it. We are tired with this humble noise.
I'm just glad you have dogs. That's all that matters. So, I had no idea, man. I was unaware that you had dogs, and you will now be going to the Final Four because there are dogs. So congratulations. Woof, woof.
Beat me there. Don't beat me there.
That was really targeted at Pierre Brooks, man.
What?
He's not here. We're going to the Final Four. That's tough. What are we celebrating? Are we hanging a banner that says Pierre Brooks isn't here?
Sorry. I didn't mean for him to catch a stray. I hope he's, feasting at Boulder.
You have been known to frown upon your dogs that leave the kennel. So shout out Cormac. Shout out Max Christie. Okay. I'm glad your energy's back. I think you were just holding that in all episode. When I said you were being a little off, I think you were just like, you had to get that off your chest. Now I see that twinkle in your eye again, my friend. It's good to see. My one big thing presented by Big B, presented by this iced coffee that I drank all of during the episode. I drank it all today. Yeah, I heard the noise. I heard people rolling their eyes when I said 94.5 minutes for me to finish an iced coffee. I heard that. Okay. Also, this episode went like 45 minutes longer than normal. So bought me some time. I have a scenario. I have a scene that happened to me in real life yesterday, Cart, that I can't forget about, that I just keep playing in my head that I want to talk about. I was at Walgreens. I went to Walgreens to buy a gallon of milk to bring home for dinner. Okay. And there was one solo man in front of me. He was checking out. I'm approaching the checkout line. At the same time, I'm approaching the checkup line from one direction. From another direction, there is a family, a mother and a father, and then they had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. The 2 daughters are running in different directions of the store, essentially screaming. The son was grabbing candy bars left and right, like just putting his hands on every candy bar, going, I wanted to remember the specific word. He said some like very
obnoxious, cartoonish slang word that like I couldn't believe an actual like 7-year-old boy was using as he was touching these candy bars. So we're both walking, like me and the mom of this family are essentially walking like same pace to where we're going to converge to being next in line at the checkout, right? She, like, as we get right to the point where you would have to like enter or you're not there yet, she has to stop because her daughters are running in other directions. So I just keep walking by with my little gallon of milk. They were getting a bunch of shit, by the way. I just walk by with my little gallon of milk, get to the checkout line. Takes them about 45 seconds to even get back up behind me. Once they get up, her kids are still going crazy. She's still like clearly frustrated by it. She very loudly, enough for everyone who was in the store to hear, it's like, gosh, you guys just cost us 30 seconds and 2 people just got in front of us. First of all, the one guy was already at the aisle before he even got there. Second of all, oh, she said took our spot. 2 people took our spot because of you, to the daughter. It wasn't your spot, woman. It's a spot. I had no right to be entitled to that spot, just as neither did you. It's just the spot. And whoever gets there first gets to go through the spot, and then you get to go through the spot. And it's not my fault that you were doing a horrible job parenting your 3 children. Okay, to the point that that spot became available to me conveniently before you. Second of all, I was in the checkout line for maybe 40 seconds. I had a gallon of milk. It was not that hard to be patient. Probably something you could teach your children and be a better parent so that next time you're at Walgreens, this doesn't happen to you again. But the audacity, Carter, the audacity of that woman to say out loud, you cost us our spot, in a spot where I could hear that. Like, what do you want? You want me to step away and let you and your children walk through your spot, woman? It's played in my head 100 times, Carter. I hope she has a horrible day, and I hope a bird poops on her shoulder today.
My word. 2 things that I want to comment on that. One, I'm a firm believer in letting the person who has like that one item in front of you if you have multiple items. I think that's a good thing to do. I think that's the thing that should be universal throughout the world. I go by that rule. I abide by that rule. That lady has some audacity. 2, the most alarming thing out of this situation is that you're drinking milk, regular milk. That's gross.
Yeah, should we bring back our one? This is one of my favorite you and I hypotheticals. We've said, is it weird? What's weirder to not have done in 10 years? Drink a glass of milk or read a book? What is more weird?
It is more weird that you're just drinking a glass of milk.
See, I'm not like
it's regular milk. That is, I didn't know people still bought regular milk. You and TJ are the only people I know that still buy regular milk.
I mean, that milk builds strong bones. What do you got against that? Calcium, my friend. Like,
you can get calcium from other food items.
So you don't eat chocolate. You don't do a little cookie and milk.
I do, but I do not drink regular milk.
You don't drink cereal. You don't eat cereal.
Yeah, I do.
With milk.
Almond milk.
See, that's just, now you're being high maintenance.
No, it's actually very easy.
But like, how can you drink almond milk and criticize people who just drink milk?
Because you're making the conscious decision to go to the store, reach in and buy 2% or low-fat D milk and in a big-ass gallon. And you're telling me you're having a dinner. You got some chicken, some veggies, I don't know, something else. And you're pouring a glass of cold milk to eat with that?
For the record, no. Last night I came home, made chicken parm on naan bread with mashed potatoes and watermelon. It was a great meal. I made it. It was Bunday. Then we watched The Big Short. Gosling didn't even put up a generational performance. I was disgusted. But before that, I poured a glass of vino, a glass of red, a glass of cab to drink with my dinner cart. Even topped that off with a Diet Coke before I sat down on the couch to watch Gosling underwhelm for 2 hours and 15 minutes. But I had the milk in the fridge, Cart, because I also brought home a little surprise for the wife. It was a s'more. I brought stuff to make s'mores. We made microwave s'mores as a little after dinner snack, and I needed a glass of milk to go with my s'more.
So you like glasses of milk with your dessert?
Yeah.
Nice. Do you also, when you go to restaurants, get that placemat that you can color on?
It's a crazy take by you. It's a crazy take. All right. Thanks for watching this episode. I'll let Cart get the final word today because I don't have anything clever to come up with. We'll be back tomorrow
where we'll probably talk about Purdue and hopefully some other shit that happens in college basketball. Have a great Monday, everybody. Drink some milk.